5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome to O'Malley Live on this, the 21st day of February 2020. I want to thank everybody for joining, whether you're watching live or in post. The number to contact the show is 234-650-4920, or you can email us at o'malleysadventure@yahoo.com. So today I have Tura and Jenny from Yoga Grace, and we're going to talk about how to not hurt yourself doing yoga. And the reason I say that is because don't try to do it yourself. Go somewhere and have somebody that knows what's going on help you start your journey. So first, a little bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Tura.
Well, I have been teaching yoga for probably 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I got my accreditation with Lisa Ecklich at Powerhouse Yoga, and have been practicing yoga on my own for about 12 years. And I was subbing for Melina Hunt, who had the yoga space that I use now at Holy Trinity. And about a year ago, a little over a year ago, she decided she was going into real estate. And so she had approached about getting someone to continue the yoga practice there. And I had told Michael, probably my husband, it was on my heart for probably 3 weeks, but I just couldn't get it out of my mouth because I thought, what am I getting myself into? You know, I have a full-time job, and I didn't know if I could do this. And finally, after 3 weeks of just holding it in, I finally said to Mike, I said, I think I want to do this. And he said, then call her. And I said, well, by now she's probably got somebody. He said, call her. And I did. And she said, I've been waiting for you to call me. So we met, and 48 hours later, I became Yoga Grace. You know, I started Yoga Grace, and we have now been there since the end of October of 2018. So we're about a year and a half almost into it. And I was teaching solo myself for about the first year, and then I had a chance to take on another teacher, and I had asked Ashley Thomas to come on, and she started teaching really strong power vinyasa classes with inversions, which is just something I physically can't do right now. So we've been working at 4 classes a week now. We have Monday, we have Thursday at 7, and then we had Tuesday at 6:30 and Saturdays at 9. Unfortunately, Ashley's on leave right now, so right now it is now Jenny Fitzgerald and I that are administering the classes. So Jenny's teaching on Mondays, I teach on Thursdays, and you know, we'd like to go back to that third day as soon as we can. But the class focus is really just on learning the breath work, learning the postures, but we just really want everybody to start to embrace the beauty and the essence of yoga. It's for everybody, and I think that's really why I started teaching, because I just loved it so much myself, coming from a competitive background. In competition, as you know, you're always striving to be better.
Right.
And in my early years as a yoga student, I had a yoga instructor say, how many competitive athletes do we have in here? And I just raised my hand. I was so proud of the fact. And she said, well, you just, you know, head on out that door. And I was like, what? I'm not sure I'm gonna like this teacher. And we got to the doorway, and she said, turn around. And she said, just hang your ego out there on the hook and come on back. Because this is a personal journey, and we're all at different levels. There's no competition. There's no judgment. And that is when it hit me. This is for me. I can just be me. I don't have to strive to be this level of perfection. And that's what got me into yoga, and I just love it. I don't just practice yoga. I try to live, you know, what yoga gives me in my heart and my mind. And I tell my students, the first time they come to class, they'll say, I've never done yoga. I'm not flexible. And I said, that's okay. I said, tonight, the only thing I want to teach you is how to breathe.
Right.
And they look at me like, I do breathe.
Right.
You just don't breathe right.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how about you? How did you get involved?
Oh, so I came to yoga after some loss, and it was something that I wasn't expecting to find to mean a lot more, but I needed something to channel a lot of grief. And off and on for 15 years, I did yoga. And when I went to my first training, I did it out at Neomed with Mario Santaferro. And I remember introducing myself, and I said, I'm the political scientist in the room, and I probably need yoga the most. And it really was such a true statement, because working with students, even at the college level, they're taking in everything. And the one night, I just remember they're looking at me, and I'm looking behind me, looking for the adult in the room, and I'm like, I got to be the adult in the room. And I realized that I didn't have really good techniques to ground myself. And so that was my first thought. I need to learn to meditate. I need to learn to breathe. And of course, back pain, right? The usual symptoms that gets everybody to yoga.
Right.
And through my training in 200, I realized that I'm not the power instructor. I'll do it, but I would rather do restorative. I'd rather work with the gentle, the beginners, teaching them how to breathe. So when they go to Tora's class, they already have an idea of what breath work is, but then she can deepen that practice. And ever since I found yoga as a teacher even, it's really changed my perspective on a lot. And so much so that I went to work on my 300 level with Tracy Reinhardt. So, I felt that I needed to deepen my practice. There was something I was looking for more.
Right.
So I went more towards an integrative therapy route. And
Okay.
so working one-on-one with folks, teaching small classes, teaching the beginners, because I think if we could get paid for every time somebody said, I'm not flexible,
You'd be rich.
yeah, exactly. We could retire
Yeah.
and breathe for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always tell people I'm a yoga instructor because I need more work than you probably do. I've just gained the tools to do it. So let me give you some of those tools. And the relationships that I've gained through teaching, through training.
Tremendous.
And I would do some classes here and there, and I was doing some classes for a friend of mine, and someone mentioned Tora's name. And I'm not a competitive person, so completely not competitive. And I reach out to her and I say, I want you to know I'm in the community. Here's some things I'm doing. But I know where we're at, the community's sparse. And I thought if we could bring people together in our area and bring yoga to the people, because everyone needs yoga.
Right.
Everyone needs
They
it.
just don't
So-
know they need it.
Exactly.
So then, outside of yoga, your background, your profession, you are
I'm a registered nurse.
You're a
I am a
regist-
consultant for the Direction Home. Been there almost 20 years.
okay.
I spend a lot of time in my car driving and seeing primarily elderly people.
Okay. And you are
I work with political science interns. So I
Okay.
help them find internships locally in Columbus, DC, anywhere they want to go.
Okay.
But I am surrounded by political scientists, and by trade, I'm a political scientist
right.
and historian, and so I can't escape any of it
Right.
until I find my mat.
Right.
And I will say that stepping into yoga has stepped me out of a political.
Right. So
Turmoil, yeah.
regardless of background, it's not one-sided. You have more of one type of person than another.
Right.
Right.
So let's say you're just brand new. Whose class do you go to? Yours or yours?
I would recommend Jenny's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned levels.
Yes.
Okay. Explain the levels.
I'll let Jenny take on what she does, because I
Okay.
think it's what she has brought to Yoga Grace.
Okay.
When she called me, I have to say I felt like it was a gift.
Aw.
Really blessed because of her background. I know who she's training with. They're powerful. Tracy's amazing. But she brings Reiki with her. And I think that my students in particularly are really excited about that, and I'll let her explain that.
So we try not to compartmentalize different types of yoga, but
Okay.
when you're training, it tends to be that people will cordon off into different types of yoga. And there's the power teachers, there's the all levels teachers. So no matter where you put them, they're going to be able to teach from beginners to power. But I always felt comfortable teaching the folks that are coming in off the street that have a brand new mat that still won't roll out flat, right?
Right.
It's brand new.
Right.
And they're coming from what we call like lower level, ground level. And so we're building them up and we're starting giving them a foundation, finding their feet, because
Okay.
a lot of people get up, they move, they don't feel for their feet, right? And all of my yogis, if they're listening, they're like, yeah, that's what she's always saying. Find your feet.
Right, right.
But it's true, because there is some basic work to be done. There's basic poses, and you could go to any class, but what's that she's saying? What do I do? And then all of a sudden it looks like Twister in your family room.
Right.
So I try to make it safe by not giving it that Twister component, if you will.
Right, right.
But I like to work with the beginners, or for people that want to come back and just polish up, because with beginners you can get a lot of alignment, because alignment is a big thing with yoga too. But working with anybody that comes in, I'm giving you the basic skills. We're walking you through a basic class, basic breath work, but we're going to build on that and we're going to add to that, so that if you go into her class, you're not going to be lost. You're going to find your way, and you're going to remember to breathe. And so it's a beginner's level. Some studios call it level 1, some gentle. It varies. It, you know,
It really does. And I think with our particular group, we have a varied age range. I can have them from high school up to 70 years old. And I think we have somewhat of adaptive yoga, because I have some hearing impaired. So they position themselves in class so that they can physically see, and they appreciate that the yoga instructor is doing some demonstration, which is kind of taboo in some of the other studios. But I feel as a nurse, bringing that background, I need to adapt that practice to that individual, or they're going to leave.
Right.
And, you know, I have one in mind. She's 67, 68. She plays golf. And her first time she walked in, she said, I come out of senior chair. I think your class is too hard for me. And I had one of my other students who was in her 60s say, please stay. Tora will give you modifications. And she explained that she had a hearing impairment. And she now is positioned where she can see me. So even if she can't hear, she can visually see. I always take her where she needs to go. And she said, one of the things that you said that really helped me stay was, you said, this is your journey. I'm a guide. And she said that made all the difference to her. And she never misses class.
no.
Right.
She never misses class. She loves it. And she said her golf game's improved a lot.
Right. So there isn't a basic standard for why people show up. Everybody sort of has their own.
They have their story.
They do. And if they haven't figured it out, if they're coming for exercise, about 3 or 4 classes in, they start to find their story.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. So you said something about a level 300?
yeah, so
Okay.
it's kind of like a master's. I don't want to call it that, but
Right.
you have the 200-hour training, which is, I don't know that the state of Ohio requires it, but that is the 200 hours. It gives you the history of yoga. It breaks down poses.
Okay.
If you have some teachers that are good in Sanskrit, you even get to learn the fancy, cool names to call out the poses. But you go through anatomy, history, so you learn some of the basic.
Okay.
For 300 level, you're going to step in, and you're stepping in, but it's also going to step into you too, and you're peeling back layers that you don't realize, like young layers from
Right.
wee little, right?
Yeah.
But then you're going to dive deeper into anatomy. You're going to dive deeper into philosophy and all the things that you touch on 200. It adds more to it. One of the benefits for me for 300 was cleaning up the language and the cueing. And
Okay.
so anybody comes out at everybody that comes out at 200 steps in, you can teach.
Mm-hmm.
But there's what we call intelligent sequencing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them get it in 200. And so you're getting it in 200, but here's a way to, this is the why. We've given you the basics, but now we really want to give you the why. We want to tell you why intelligent cueing, because like you said, it's a journey. When you step into class, we're starting. We want to take you somewhere. And there's a destination. And through that, there's discovery.
Right.
And if we can get the right words to you, yeah, you're getting the exercise, but you're doing a lot of self-discovery through the destination.
Right.
Okay. So, just a quick history. Where did yoga originate? Who started it? How did it just
The chicken or the egg?
right, okay.
It's ancient. It goes.
It is hundreds and hundreds of years old. Unfortunately, I think since we have westernized it, we have
Exactly.
changed it
Okay,
dramatically.
so it's not a Western
No.
form of Asian?
I always go back to India.
India? So when you do these different levels, are there people that actually travel to maybe some
India?
of the yes
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
and study?
I believe Amanda Fuller at Yoga Strong did some training in India.
Amanda Fuller. Why does that name sound
She
familiar?
owns Yoga Strong here in Jackson Township. Amazing lady, amazing studio, amazing teachers. She's dynamic. She really has, I think she's probably one of the first studios in Stark County that was a hot vinyasa. And they offer classes from 5:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, every day.
So how often do you guys have classes?
Right now, we're only having 2 a week. I think that's going to change because I had just talked to Ashley last night, and I'll probably start picking up her Tuesday nights till she can come back. We were having 4 classes a week, but once we moved to spring, I just noticed that the attendance drops off. Kids are out of school. It's, summer vacation. People are traveling. So we have 3 classes. But because we are a yoga community, Josh, we're not a business.
Right.
We all have other jobs.
Right.
I encourage my students to go to other studios to experience other teachers, because each teacher brings something unique.
Okay.
Mine is, I've always told my students, first I'm going to teach you to breathe. And then my job, hopefully, is to get in your head.
Okay.
And if I can get here, this body's going to follow. And that's always been my philosophy.
Okay.
But other teachers bring aspects of yoga that you may find that you are just, when I first started taking yoga, Christy Leahy was my first yoga really instructor, and I can remember being a groupie, going to all her classes, and she said, Tora, you need to start experiencing other teachers. Oh, I can't do it. She said, you have to. You must. I insist you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness she did, because now I get to experience, and I will say I'm a yoga gypsy. I go to all the studios.
Okay.
I have a remarkable amount of teachers and friends that always introduce me to new things, and every experience is wonderful and unique.
So it's not a one-dimensional, like, you take it average, like wrestling. They do single legs, they do double legs, they move. But yoga's not like that. It's how you teach is different from instructor to instructor.
It is.
Okay. So ballpark, how many do you have per class?
I average probably 16 to 20 a night.
Okay. And your classes are comparable?
7 to 8.
7 to 8. So I hear the term hot yoga. Okay. How many different types of yoga are there as far as
Hot.
just is there just one or two, or how
Are you talking the kitschy kind of yoga with goats and with wine and beer, or are you talking about
Woo!
they have
We
what?
gonna rate this show?
Oh my.
right? Well, like we do in the Western world, we
Okay.
like to one up the next class.
We embellish
We do.
in this country.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because the last thing I want to do
So-
is yoga with the goat. I'm sorry, right? But it's a niche. It's a niche.
Okay.
But you can now use weights. And I know Tora's added weights to her classes. I have a class that I do with weights as well.
Uh-huh.
And it's because you have the students who still want the workout but know that they need the yoga. So incorporating a little bit of weights. But power yoga, I don't know.
You know, power yoga, you're using your body weight.
Right.
You know, I started following booty yoga, and I started seeing the weights and the bands, and I'm like, ooh, I could really kick their butts with that. I'm going to bring it. And they love it. So, you know, that's what I'm saying, Josh. It's a journey, and you start to experience all these different forms of yoga. There's so many forms of yoga. And I started out with thinking all I'm going to ever teach is restorative and yin. I'm yin certified. But now in this chapter, I'm finding that I kind of like to add a little boot camp to my yoga.
Okay. Which would be more of the resistance and the...
I do a lot of planking. My students know we're going to plank a lot. We're going to do a lot of core. You might be using blocks and weights. You might be using bands. We do a lot of chair and balance. I'm really big on balance. I think sometimes we miss balance. And as we age, the first thing we lose is our balance. That's why elderly people have so many falls.
Right.
So we focus on that, but I still want them to come away out of Shavasana with some message beyond the body.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
for me, it is still about here.
Right.
If I get here, then your yoga experience is going to be so much, it's going to be special
Right.
and unique to you.
So that word that you just used there.
Shavasana.
Yes. Unpackage that a little bit for people that don't know what that is.
For me, I tell my students it's the final relaxation pose. It
Okay.
is the most important pose in practice. It's an accumulation of everything that you've practiced through your yoga. And it's really time to just let go and just let everything that just happened in your body settle in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Kinda. It
Little
does.
out.
It makes more sense now because you said it. I'm like, I never heard that before.
Corpse pose.
Okay. So, you touched on, was it you or you touched on Reiki?
She mentioned it.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm very unfamiliar. A friend of mine, his mom, she's into that.
Okay.
So, how much of that do you incorporate into your class?
As much as I can, and
Okay.
I always bring it in the end in Shavasana. Tora's up here. I want to ground you because I feel the connection to grounding you and
Okay.
bringing you down. So one of the ways to do that is with Reiki, and so I'm going to explain it, and hopefully I get it out there and it doesn't sound mystical to people.
Right.
It's you use your hands, and so it's a slight touch of your hands on different parts of the body, so it's hand placement. And the idea is it's just a transfer of energy
Right.
from the universe. I'm the conduit, you receive it.
Right.
And for some people it feels very warm, other people it's very cold, some people it does nothing. But it helps to relax the nervous system even more.
Okay.
Because the idea is if I can get your body to down regulate and you can relax, you really can let go. But for some reason, the heat from the Reiki really relaxes people. And so a lot of times when I'm at their feet doing Reiki, I'll watch their breath. And you can see within a matter of 2 breaths that they completely drop into complete relaxation. So, but it's a transfer of energy.
Sure.
And you can use it to... I use it on my kids because they're kids and high strung.
Right.
And my kids really benefit from it, especially around bedtime or in the morning before school.
Right.
But the idea is just it's an extra layer to yoga. It's an extra layer to meditation if
Right.
somebody's going to sit in meditation. But it's also about connection and human touch too.
Right.
Because we are moving away from that. We're moving
Absolutely.
away from
Yes.
connection. And if for a minute that I'm at your feet, you feel that connection, that I think that's another
It's
level
amazing.
that brings you down as well, so that your whole body just relaxes.
So yours is more mental, and you touched on meditation.
And grounding, yeah.
How much meditation is involved with a typical yoga session?
I don't necessarily call it meditation. I call it a checking in. And
Okay.
so at the very beginning of class, I let them, they can either sit up on a block, they can lay on their back, but wherever they're comfortable, they're going to be able to check in better. And so for me, it's more of a check-in. We offer an intention. I have a little word box. We'll draw a word. Sometimes I let the class do it. Sometimes I'll do it. But if they can set an intention and work to find their breath, they're meditating even though I don't tell them they're meditating. Because as soon as you tell someone they're going to meditate, here comes the grocery list, here comes the dental appointment, here comes, oh my goodness, I forgot this. So if I walk them through breath, give them an intention, they're going to do what I'm instructing instead of thinking of everything else.
So you said a word?
Yep.
You started
One word.
One word.
Yeah.
And it's just a random.
It's a little word. Yeah.
So walk me through it, because I'm so class. Walk me through a class basically, briefly.
Okay.
I walk in and you say we're going to check in.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're going to come in, you're going to place your mat where you want to place your mat. And I always set up after all my students are in, but you'll lay out your mat, you'll have your little blocks and your blanket and anything else that we ask you to get. And there's a little chitter chatter amongst the students, and then we'll call you to attention for class, and I'll say, okay, so why don't you go ahead and find the pose that's comfortable for you, whether it's legs crisscrossed straight out in front of you or on your back. And then I'll tell you to just pay attention to the natural rhythm of your breath, because first and foremost, I don't know that we do throughout a regular day.
Okay.
Nobody really stops to pay attention to their breath.
Right.
So I tell them, listen, just follow the rhythm. Notice where you're inhaling. Notice where you're exhaling.
Right.
Is there any place where you feel that inhale or exhale catch? Because that's a sticky spot that you probably want to just focus your attention on. So getting them also awareness throughout their body.
Okay.
Because on any given day, we're not paying attention to our bodies. Here we are typing, here we're doing this. So the check-in is find your breath.
Okay.
And then I'll go through a breathing exercise.
Okay.
The one I like to do often is square breath or equal breath, and that's counting your inhale, counting your exhale. So we'll start with that. And then I always visualize just a little box, and you count your breath in, the hold, exhale,
Sure.
hold.
Okay.
So they're getting into a meditative state, and I'm just walking them through some breathing and asking them to check through their body and notice where they can't let go.
Okay.
So.
And does yours start similar?
No.
Okay.
You knew I had to be a maverick, didn't you? Didn't you? You knew I was going to be a maverick. Yeah, no, I really want them to, because I have a lot of type A's in my class.
Okay.
Their hardest part is dropping out of their head.
Right.
Their mind's still thinking about all the tasks or what they got to do at home or getting up at 4:30 in the morning, go for their run.
Right.
So I have to mentally tell them it's okay to let that go right now.
Okay.
This hour belongs to you.
Okay.
And then we start to go through the breath, but we start to ignite senses.
Okay.
Hearing the breath, feeling the breath, experiencing space through the breath. And then I get them to the point where I can tell they're starting to let go. And then we always do what I call my 3 cleansing breaths. So we breathe in as full as they can, and I have them hold for maybe a count of 6. And then I audibly want them to open the jaw and let go. And I want them visualizing whatever is tight or they feel bound by being released into the atmosphere. And we do that 3 times with longer holds. And by then, we're ready to start our practice.
Okay. And are all the practices sort of the same, or do you mix up what you go through? Is it like a standard routine? Like we start with this, we end with that?
You know, I don't, Josh. I don't personally. I know some instructors, they get a flow and they stick with it week after week. I try to change it up, and I don't like, sometimes I notice my students, if I do a usual flow and they know it, they're anticipating it.
Right.
So I'll kick them off of that, like right now.
Okay.
And they'll be like, you
Right.
know, which keeps them in the flow.
Right.
Because if they're anticipating or they think they know it, then they're not in the flow.
Right.
They're already thinking about what's coming next. And here again, it's Torah with the head.
Right.
So yeah, I'll mix it up.
So how do you do that? How do you break up anticipation?
I write out my classes,
Okay.
but I'm the same way. I don't, every once in a while I'll pull out a class that's the same, or if I feel like I have the same group and they need to see the flow again, I'll do the same one. Every class is different. And there's an arc to the class, and so you're building up to this grand peak pose, and then you're coming down on the other side, right? So it's like building up the tension, and then it's releasing and then finding that final pose. I don't do the same one all the time. And I write out my lessons. I think about what I want them to do. Sometimes it's we're going to do all these different poses. Other times it's we're going to do balance, or we're going to work core. We're going to so it varies, like you, because you're part of letting the yoga is letting go and trusting that your body's going to go where you need it to. And so if you're working with them with a flow, you'll introduce it to them, and then the next time their body should just naturally know where they want to go. So, but don't make them work for it a little bit to get out of
You got to get out of the head.
Yeah.
You got to get out of the head. And once you learn
Excuse
how
me.
to do that, it is so powerful. I have been in classes where literally I was in Shavasana, and that mat became like my flying carpet. I felt like my body was off the ground. It was almost scary at first, but I was so deep into a relaxation. I had never experienced that better than any kind of alcohol or drug you could imagine. It was amazing.
So you talk about the community. How many people are actually involved at Yoga Grace as far as making it go?
Oh my gosh. We're growing. We're getting new students all the time. I have a Facebook page, Yoga Grace.
Right.
We now have 366 followers, and I make it so that people have to friend it, and then I can approve them because I want to keep the message positive.
Right.
Because we're a yoga community, not a yoga business, I always say we have a mission here at Grace. We want to take our love beyond the border of the mat.
Okay.
We got to love ourselves first,
Right.
but then we take it out there. And at Grace, we every month try to give back to the community, whether it's animal shelters, domestic violence, someone's family who's in need. We gave to food pantries. We do something to give back. And I just really feel like the Lord has blessed us.
Absolutely. So where is there a future that you're looking to move towards with the community? Is there any type of expansion? Are you?
I am so glad you asked that question.
Well,
Because I hope there are a lot of people watching right now.
okay.
I would love to see, and I know Christy Lay and Tracy Reinhardt have developed in Akron a yoga coalition. But right here in Stark County, we have dynamic teachers. We have dynamic studios. And I would so much love to just bring the community of yoga teachers together for a yoga festival. Literally just fill Reservoir Park or the McKinley Monument with yoga teachers and yoga people.
Right.
And just do yoga all day and bring different teachers together to just 15, 20 minutes, just a whole yoga fest. I mean, it would be like the Woodstock of yoga. I mean,
Right.
that is like my dream.
Right.
I'm a free spirit. And I think yoga just allows that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So how many are there within Stark County to bring together? How, how many
We
makeup?
have right now, well, I know Mike Curtis has 3 studios. He has Yoga Shala, he has Yoga Central, Yoga Place. Amanda Fuller has Yoga Strong. She's also in Cleveland and she has the bar. She had Barfly, but now they've kind of merged. Powerhouse, Lisa manages Powerhouse. We have Yoga Bliss in Fairlawn. We have Yoga Bliss in Green. We have Release in Green. I mean, yoga studios are cropping up. Now, some of those are in Summit, but just here in Stark County, we have 6th Street Yoga. Uh, there's probably so many right now I'm not even thinking of. Jenny might know some more, but there's just so much, and that was really one of the things when Jenny reached out to me and said, I feel like there's room for everybody in this community, and there is. And I just would like to see a unified format of yoga enthusiast. And I don't even like to say I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a yoga student for life. I would give up teaching in a heartbeat, but I could never quit being a student. I am constantly learning. I follow people on YouTube, and I just feel like we have so much right here in Stark County that we can all benefit from. And it will, I think, generate even more interest in yoga. I think yoga is here to stay.
Well, it's been around for a couple minutes.
Yeah, just
You know,
a couple.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like you said, I think some of it's been westernized.
Yeah.
But
Can
the
I
concept of it.
Backpedal a little bit. One of the experiences after I had taught at Powerhouse, I taught for Lisa for a while. Teresa Carson had McFadden had contacted me. She owns Resist up here. She said, Tora, I'd like to bring yoga. And do you want to teach for me? I said, you need to come to class. I might not be what you're looking for. She came, and I taught for her for, I'm going to say, close to 2 years. And, I loved it, and there was some interest. But because Resist is primarily, they've got TRX, they've got boot camp, they throw kettlebells. I feel like a weakling when I go to their classes because I can't pump those heavy weights. But I think at the time I was teaching, there was a lot of people who didn't see a value to yoga because maybe it wasn't getting their little monitors into the red zone or whatever those zones are. I don't use monitors. I don't like being plugged in. I tune out. But now, 2 years later, she has teachers and students that are actually seeing the wonderful benefits of yoga, and I think they're going back to having yoga classes, and I am so excited. I feel like I was a part of a frontier there with yoga, and that's where that yoga community comes in. That there's space for everybody, and yoga's beneficial. Even when you have training camps for football players, you read about they're doing yoga.
Right.
Because it really benefits the performance. It improves the flexibility in the body. So I'm excited to see that yoga's starting to grow, and that's why I would really like to see the studios come together. I mean, if I had one dream day, it would be to pull all the yoga instructors together.
Right.
For one day, for one yoga jam session. I would just love it.
Well, or maybe even put on some type of like a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday clinic. As far as, this group of instructors has this day and this group has this day. Because I'm sure just between the two of you being that different with yoga, I mean, there's got to be a version or form of it, however you want to say it, that is for just about everybody. And finding that right instructor might be the might be the answer. And if they went to both days, they would have an opportunity to find
absolutely
both. So where are you located at?
We are located at 4275 Holy Trinity Lutheran Church on Lincoln Way West. When you're coming Lincoln Way West, you don't want to go to the first parking lot. You go to the second parking lot.
Okay.
There's always a light on. And the studio, we do heat it up to about 88 degrees.
Okay.
But lately, I have been getting there early to heat it up. And then when class starts, I turn it off because I just don't like the sound of heater vents going while we're in flow. I just
Gotcha.
prefer. It makes, especially since I have several hearing impaired people.
Right. It's more of a distraction than.
It really is. It really is.
So what time are the classes?
Classes on Monday and Thursday are at 7:00. We probably will come back to Tuesday at 6:30 here in the next week or two. And then Ashley will resume when she's ready.
And you say more towards spring and summer it drops off?
We drop the Saturday classes.
Okay.
But I got to tell you, caveat. Shea Baker has Trails and Nails, and I know, Josh, I told you about that. So part of our community is we do hikes.
Okay.
So on Saturday mornings, she posts on Grace and she posts on Trails and Nails. They do hikes. And a lot of them get together and do hikes. In the summertime, we're biking on Wednesday nights. We use the trails. So, it's just another outlet for activity and good health. Making friends.
Making friends and doing something other than sitting behind a screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you touched on something about unplugging. Is it mandatory that you have to take the monitors off?
No. You know what, Josh? I know all you techno guys
Right.
and
I was gonna
girls.
say because my brain is very analytic.
Yeah.
And if
yeah.
I don't see
No.
something like
No,
that, it would
no.
drive
I have
me
no
insane.
problem with that. I just know personally, I tried the Fitbit, I tried the tracker, I had these things on, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm too much of a yogi. This stuff makes me plugged in. And you know what I did with my Fitbit? I put it in the box and I sent it right back. I said, this is definitely not for me. I'll use my perceived exertion.
Right.
Michael puts little computers on my bike. I can honestly say I look down, but I could care less what they say. If I'm hurting, I'm going to back off those pedals.
What about you? do you have?
I do a Fitbit, but that's it.
Okay.
And I hate it.
There you go.
What? Okay.
The only reason why I have it is it's a watch, right? I know, right? Because I didn't want to wear a watch and a Fitbit and my little lucky bracelet. But I'm not really into product bashing, but they never last very long.
Ah.
And it seems like you spend the money for the technology, and then within a year, yeah. So I just charge it enough so I have a watch.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I can not have it either. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just think, you're plugged in all day to the phone,
Right.
voicemail, email, text messages. You've got a drive. You got Bluetooth on your phone. You're plugged in all day.
Right.
So when I'm finally in that zone where I want to just work my body, I don't want to be plugged into a device because it takes my mind off of what I'm doing, and I want to find some enjoyment in that stuff.
Right. I'm going to be 100% honest.
That won't work for you.
I would struggle with that a lot, but I don't know. I might be able to pull it off. I don't know. This is my sort of reminder. It's this when I don't have it, and my phone. Something I've learned, and just completely off topic. I should have learned to type.
That's all right.
It's true. Like you talk about unplugging, and people say they know how to breathe and whatnot. You sit in front of this keyboard a lot. Everybody does, right?
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what. If it wasn't for these, I should have taken it in school. But who'd have thought? But no,
Right.
it would speed
Voice
up.
to text.
You know what? I got some horror stories about
Maybe the
that.
dragon.
Anyway, I would love to do something with the specific to the Reiki sometime.
Okay.
That one has me pretty fascinated. My oldest is into that.
There you go.
And like I said, a good friend of mine from high school, his mom, very into it. Like that's her thing. Matter of fact, she's
amazing.
actually written a book, and I think part of that book has to do with that. So
It's really interesting.
I think we should make
Yeah.
that one happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, producers throwing things around. Do you have anything else?
I just want to tell everybody who's watching,
Okay.
if they are interested in yoga, please come to Grace. You can take the first class for free.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We
You
would
know what?
love to meet you.
Maybe we'll do something where myself and we'll document it somehow. Because obviously, it would probably, if people actually seen it,
Mm-hmm.
and seen somebody doing it and looking like a complete fool the first time, because you are. I mean, if you don't know it and you're trying it for the first time, I mean, come on, if you're in your mid to late 40s, you don't have the balance you had when you were in your 20s. So you're gonna goof it up a little bit.
But it's okay. You can use a wall.
Right. Well, walker, wall, whatever.
Let's not hope we're there yet.
So anyway, if you don't have anything else, that's all I have.
Thank you, Josh,
Thank
for
you so
having us here.
much.
We so appreciate it.
Absolutely, we are going to do it again. And as always, on Friday, we sign off like it's midnight and you stayed up past your bedtime. Have you been following the Friday show? The mics will go cold and I'll let you watch it. Until next week, there's no holiday Monday. Monday's a council meeting. Tuesday on OmallyLive. We'll be back. Until then, God bless America. Long live the Republic. Peace.